Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Draft Room. This is the NFL Draft Podcast of the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call into the show, if you'd like to drop your mocks or give your thoughts or whatever, 608-561-3243 is the number. Today, the plan is to finish our very long project here of going over the top prospects. This is going to be the remainder of the top 100 prospects in the NFL Draft. Obviously, there are other prospects that we'll be looking at over time, but in terms of just going one by one through all the different prospects, I think top 100 is pretty good for now. I have to go back and update a few things, but again, if you're interested, link should be in the description for the scouting guide. Have very, very detailed notes on all of the top prospects and then some, as well as notes on NFL teams, and any other data that I find will be added to the scouting guide, draft guide, whatever. Anywho, without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started? We have, I believe, another 10. These guys are already moving on the big board, so I had to kind of look around and try to find these guys. But Davison Igbinosun, we have Antonio Williams, Igbinosun, cornerback out of Ohio State. Antonio Williams is a wide receiver out of Clemson. Romello Height, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Gabe Jacas, edge rusher out of Illinois. I always want to say the thing, but I'm not gonna. Family program. Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver out of Alabama. Derek Moore, edge rusher out of Michigan. Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. Chris Brazzell, wide receiver out of Tennessee. And then the guy that slipped all the way through the cracks here is Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. He is currently on the consensus board at 43. He was at 44 yesterday, so he is flying up the boards. Clearly, if he was top 50, we would have talked about him when we did wide receivers, but he has climbed pretty rapidly. I think we did roughly top 50 because there's so many wide receivers, but he is now within the top 50. So we got a bunch of guys that are basically top 50 now. Brazzell is at 51. Malachi Fields is at 52. So we got three different guys, all of them wide receivers, that are just slamming themselves into the top 50. So the top 50 is just loaded. Then again, you got guys like Surratt, who I think we've already talked about, who's fallen outside of it or whatever, but anywho's. So that's what we're doing today. Let's get started with Davison Igbinosun. He is listed at 6'2", 192 from Union Township, New Jersey. He was on the American team at the 2026 Senior Bowl, named a Senior Bowl winner by multiple outlets. Projected to be a second to third round pick. Four-star prospect out of Union High School in Union Township, New Jersey. Ranked the number one player in the state by On3. Nationally, he checked in as number 124 overall prospect, number 17 cornerback. He also competed in track and field, running a 7.1 second indoor 55-meter dash and a 15.17 second 110-meter hurdle. I don't know those things well enough to know how good that is, but if you do, there you go. He was named All BCC Division 5A First Team, clear alpha of the team that was contending for state championship before COVID forced a second-round playoff forfeit. Initially committed to Rutgers, following his footsteps of his older brother Desmond, who was already a safety for the Scarlet Knights. The commitment was emotional. Rutgers was all he knew, having grown up less than 30 miles from campus, but by October 2021, Igbinosun decommitted, drawing by the allure of SEC football. Rutgers coach Greg Schiano even flew a helicopter one of his high school games in the last-ditch recruiting pitch. It didn't work. Igbinosun committed to Ole Miss on a national television during the All-American Bowl and early enrolled with the Rebels. After a strong freshman campaign at Ole Miss, 13 games, 10 starts, 37 tackles, 5 passes defensed, and freshman All-American honors from College Football News, Igbinosun entered the transfer portal. He chose Ohio State over Michigan, Tennessee, UCLA, and yes, Rutgers again. As Schiano acknowledged, Igbinosun wanted a national championship contender, and he found one. So he was a starter since day one, even though it was just 566 snaps. I mean, that's still a lot for a freshman. Although from a grade standpoint, it was kind of In fact, he was kind of all the way until 2025. This was his big breakout year. So however you compartmentalize that is I guess, up to you. I know different people view that differently. I'm always skeptical of a one-year breakout, specifically because whenever, very often we see, for example, 2 years ago, a player will have a breakout. What happens the next year? They dip right back down. Meaning, if he were to play in 2026, would he get better? Would he stay the same, or would he go back? I don't know, but we're going to find out in the pros, which is a heck of a thing. But, maybe it's real. I don't know. At Ole Miss, he had a 66 coverage grade. His first year at Ohio State in 2023, it was a 68. 2024, it went down to a 61. And then 2025, it was an 81. His grades across the board on 655 total snaps, 82 overall, 82 run defense, 67 tackling, and 81 coverage. So just really solid across the board. 207 yards given up only, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, 5 pass breakups, 42.6 passer rating when targeted. I mean, that's impressive. Oh boy, it appears Davison is his middle name, which is why he goes by it, because his first name is, here we go, Amuamwosa Davison Igbinosun. In his senior season, Igbinosun was the Buckeyes' top perimeter cover man, limiting opponents to just all those numbers. A catch rate allowed under 48%, the best on the team. He posted a career-high 82 PFF coverage grade, added 2 interceptions. At 6'2", 192, and a documented 4.34 40-yard dash, Igbinosun has the prototypical size-speed combination that NFL teams covet at outside cornerback. He is a national champion, a culture changer, and a polarizing prospect whose penalty history will determine where he lands on draft weekend. He did have, holy cow, 30 penalties over 4 years, 16 in 2024. That's crazy. In 2024, he led every defender in the entire FBS with 16 penalties, most of them pass interference or illegal contact, earning him the dubious distinction of being college football's most flagged defender. Igbinosun attacked the issue head-on in 2025. He wore mittens in practice to train himself not to grab receivers, but after film study, he realized the problem was failing to turn his head to locate the football. His coaching staff, led by co-defensive coordinator Tim Walton, worked relentlessly on his footwork and positioning. The result, just 5 penalties across 14 games, a massive tangible improvement. Whether NFL teams trust the fix is real, or view 2024 as sort of what's real, it's going to determine a lot of where he goes. There's a quote from Ryan Day. Davison Igbinosun really changed the culture of our secondary when he got here from Ole Miss and has continued to do that. Says Ryan Day doesn't really throw around superlatives lightly. Day said during the Cotton Bowl Media Day, gritty, competitive dude who just brings it every day, and he has had a major impact on our program. Wide receiver Brandon Innes said a couple years ago when IGB came in, they said he brought that DB room back to life with the trash talking and stuff like that. Oh, so that's what he did. He brought the trash talking. All right, I can respect that. Apparently there was an incident that happened in the Ohio State-Oregon showdown. There was a player for Oregon, after jawing back and forth with Igbinosun near the goal line, Oregon wide receiver Trayshawn Holden spit directly into Igbinosun's face mask. Holden was immediately ejected, threw his helmet in the tunnel, and Oregon was backed up 15 yards on a drive that settled for a field goal instead of a touchdown. Oregon won the game, but Holden's ejection stripped them a key weapon. The incident told scouts everything they needed to know about Igbinosun's ability to get under the opponent's skin. It is actually a talent, especially if you're not going to retaliate. If you can just do all the legal things to get under their skin, and then when they give you what you've been asking for, you just go, hey, yo, ref, what's up with that, dude? It's crazy. Did you see that? He spit on me. That's wild. His brother Desmond signed with the Baltimore Ravens as a UDFA in 2025, but did not make the roster. He's currently with the CFL's Montreal Alouettes. As far as injuries, not really much going on. Off the field stuff, everything's pretty solid. Again, he talks trash, but it doesn't sound like that's become an issue. Pro comp Dante Jackson of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Long physical corners who thrive in press man coverage, bringing an edge and competitiveness to every snap. Jackson dealt with similar concerns early in his career. He was overly aggressive and prone to penalties as a young player with the Carolina Panthers before cleaning up his game and becoming a reliable starter. Jackson also ran a 4.32 at his combine, so very, very similar types of players. Okay, next up we have Antonio Williams, the Silver Fox. 4-star recruit out of Dutch Fork High School in Irmo, South Carolina. Number 61 overall prospect, number 6 wide receiver nationally in the 2022 class. His high school resume included helping Dutch Fork win 3 South Carolina 5A state championships, lost just 1 game in his entire high school career. Named the 2021 Mr. Richland County Football Player of the Year, an award that recognizes athletic excellence, academic achievement, and community involvement. In the 2021 Max Press South Carolina High School Football Player of the Year. He's also a multi-sport athlete at Dutch Fork, played basketball and running track all through high school. Committed to Clemson, came on December 9, 2021, choosing the Tigers over South Carolina and a bunch of other schools. It was considered a significant recruiting win over rival South Carolina, which had Williams a top priority. Head coach Dabo Swinney personally visited the Williams family home in Irmo for dinner, a visit that resonated deeply with the close-knit family and sealed the deal. He leaves Clemson as one of the most productive and decorated receivers in program history. Over 4 seasons, he compiled 208 receptions, 2,336 yards, 21 touchdowns across 43 games, 38 starts, finishing 4th in school history in career receptions, trailing only Artavis Scott, Sammy Watkins, and Aaron Kelly. He's tied with Mike Williams for 4th most touchdown catches in Clemson history and surpassed DeAndre Hopkins on the all-time reception leader list during his senior year. Williams also went a perfect 4 for 4, passing for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns in his career as a gadget weapon, added 187 rushing yards and 2 scores on 25 carries and returned 39 punts for 351 yards. Good Lord. The guy's done absolutely everything you could possibly do as a wide receiver. By the way, at 5'11", 190, he is a slot receiver. Just get that out of the way. He was the first true freshman to lead Clemson in receiving yards since Justin Ross in 2018, the first to lead in catches since Artavis Scott in 2014. That earned him freshman All-American honors from ESPN, On3, and PFF, plus honorable mention All-ACC recognition. Sophomore year, he had some injuries, ankle and foot injuries that limited him to just 4 regular season games. 2024, he comes back healthy, earned first-team All-ACC from both coaches and media. 2025, his redshirt junior year was hampered by hamstring injuries suffered in the season opener against LSU that cost him 2 games plus. The offense sputtered through an inconsistent year under quarterback Cade Klubnik. If you look at his PFF grades, his overall grades went from a 67 to 72 to 74 to 80. Receiving grades went from 69 to 74 to 73 to 80. His 2024 was his last fully healthy year, or basically that in his rookie year. 75 receptions, 908 yards, 12.1 yards per reception, 11 touchdowns. In 2025, when he played, 2/3 of a year, 3/4, 55 receptions, 611 yards, 4 touchdowns. He has a 1.97 yards per route run. He has a 5% drop rate, which is pretty solid, and about a 50% contested catch rate, which is perfectly adequate for a 5'11", 190-pound slot guy. Williams' stepdad is Murphy Holloway, one of the most accomplished basketball players in Ole Miss history. Was named South Carolina's Gatorade Player of the Year. Mr. Basketball became Ole Miss all-time leading rebounder with 1,093 career rebounds. Ranks 15th in SEC history at the time. He briefly signed with the Baltimore Ravens as a tight end convert before launching a professional basketball career overseas. He's now back at Ole Miss serving as a radio analyst for Rebels basketball. Oh, this is funny. Grandma Leslie. Perhaps the most colorful character in Williams' orbit is his grandmother, Leslie Williams, who became a genuine fixture at Clemson with Dabo Swinney's blessing. Leslie has ridden with the Hells Angels, worked carnival circuits, and helped fundraise for tragically paralyzed Ole Miss cornerback Chucky Mullen back in the day. She attended Clemson practices regularly and shared hugs with Antonio during Tiger Walk before every game, though she famously didn't like sitting in the stands because people talk too much. Instead, she'd watch on TV and fire off unfiltered text commentary to Courtney throughout the games. I never respond to them, but they are so funny because it's like the world is ending, Courtney said. I always laugh at them after the game. Even after Williams declared for the draft and opted out of the Pinstripe Bowl, Leslie showed up to watch Clemson practice. That sounds like a sweet grandma, and I don't mean that in the typical way. Freaking awesome grandma. And sweet. Seen as kind of a elite route runner, separation ability, et cetera, et cetera. Fearless in the middle of the field. Downside would be obviously size and frame limitations, injuries. Not quite sure about his ability against man coverage. What we're talking about, again, is kind of a Jaden Reed guy. He's a solid route running, productive slot receiver that might struggle a little bit if we're talking just man coverage, meaning you'd probably want to put him on a team that has some guys that can beat man coverage like Tucker Kraft and Christian Watson. In fact, that, along with Christian Kirk, Jaden Reed, is his comp. Multiple outlets have landed on Jaden Reed. Reed coming out of Michigan State, undersized slot guy who wins with route running savvy, toughness over the middle, competitive fire that belies his frame, et cetera, et cetera. No red flags. Last one we'll do on this side of the break is Romello Height, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. Romello Height, who is 6'2" 3/8", 234 pounds. Ironically, height is kind of short and small. PFF lists him at 6'3", 240, but it looks like he came in even under that. He's a 4-star recruit out of Dublin High School in Dublin, Georgia. A small Class 2A town about 2 hours southeast of Atlanta. Rated the number 24 outside linebacker nationally, number 35 overall prospect. Romello Height is a 6th-year senior, so he's definitely up in age. Spent 6 collegiate seasons at 4 different programs before finally putting together the production his athletic tools have always promised, which is not a great sign. Dominant in 2025 at a dominant school with a very good defense and defensive players and all that. But a very late breakout age with a whole bunch of other stuff going on is going to be red flag central, as well as being undersized, et cetera, et cetera. In his lone campaign at Texas Tech, Height emerged as one of the most dynamic pass rushers in college football, posting career highs across the board: 38 tackles, 10.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, fumble recovery, while starting all 13 games for a 12-1 Red Raider squad that won the Big 12 championship and earned a college football playoff berth. He earned first-team All-Big 12 honors and was named to Sports Illustrated Midseason All-American Team. They're getting into PFF, so let's look at PFF in the final year. 600 snaps, 350 pass rush, 93 run defense, 93 overall, 66 run defense, 63 tackling grade, 93 pass rush grade, and a 92.4 coverage grade, which he dropped into coverage 46 times. 62 pressures and 9 sacks on 350 attempts, which is 17.7% pressure rate. He is a poster child for the modern NIL era. Auburn to USC to Georgia Tech to Texas Tech, 4 programs, 4 conferences, 4 head coaches, 6 years of eligibility before the production finally matched the talent. And I do think this is part of the problem with all these guys going around, and I don't know fully, but I'll throw it on him, all these guys running around chasing the money. It's very difficult to have a big breakout year, especially a 4-star recruit. You're extremely talented. He never really gave it a chance. He gave Auburn 2 years, he gave USC 2 years, he gave Georgia Tech 1 year, and then he went to Texas Tech. Now he's been in there 6 years. He's certainly much less desirable to the NFL, but, I guess you cleaned up around college, so congrats on that. Again, maybe I'm being unfair to him, and it wasn't about money, and it was about other things, but I don't know. We'll see. His father, Ronnie Height, is a Marine veteran who used push-ups as punishment when Romello was growing up in Dublin. As Height told reporters before the Big 12 championship, his dad would make him do 25 push-ups as a kid when he got in trouble. The numbers only went up as he got older. That military-bred discipline shows up in Height's relentless motor and his ability to keep coming on every snap. His mother, Sharon, raised him alongside 1 brother and 5 sisters. Teammates called him Mello. He earned a degree, a bachelor's, in American popular culture from USC. He played opposite David Bailey, who we've already covered, and again, that's probably going to be an area of more scrutiny. His one big breakout year came when he was across from one of the top pass rushers in the country. Obviously, that's going to help you in certain areas. Height feasted on one-on-one matchups when attention shifted to Bailey. The question NFL evaluators will wrestle: how much of the breakout was Height reaching his potential? How much was the luxury of playing next to a first-round freak on a loaded defense? Apparently, his favorite hobby is bass fishing, which is always nice. A lot of these guys like to go out and live the high life. It is kind of nice to have a dude that just wants to go out on a boat and go fishing or go hunting or something. Because of all the questions, he's got a very wide range. I mean, some people can watch his 2025 Texas Tech tape and say he is a lock second-round pick. Others are going to very much scrutinize, or let's just say not believe the breakout and call him a much later round prospect. I think the realistic range is late second to, third, let's say. As for his injuries, the most significant came in 2022 at USC. After starting the first 2 games against Rice and Stanford, he sustained a season-ending shoulder injury that required surgery. He missed the remainder of the 2022 campaign, returned fully healthy in 2023, has not missed time due to injury since. Pro comp, Arden Key, both undersized, explosive edge rushers who bounced around early in their careers before finding production in the right system. Key was a third-round pick out of LSU at 6'5", 238. Spent his first 3 NFL seasons as a near non-factor with the Raiders before emerging as a productive rotational passer. It's kind of interesting because it's not listed as an official comp, but another thing that came up for him was Hassan Reddick, very undersized guy that when he first got to the NFL was not very productive, but has definitely had some elite years as a pass rusher. So it seems to me that it's possible that these, elite speed bend guys can succeed, but it's not easy, and not everybody can do it. Not everybody can get that out of you. By the way, a note to my Packers fans, friends, Hassan Reddick's best year ever came under our current defensive coordinator, so just throwing that out there. Alrighty, why don't we take a break? We'll come back and rip through the next portion of this group. Next up, edge rusher Gabe Jacas. Not positive I'm saying that right, but I'm going to try to walk that line carefully because that can get out of control pretty quickly. Yeah, Jackas. He's consensus 64 on the big board, so he is right at that back of the second round range. 4 years at Illinois. Hovered around a 70, high 60s for the first 3 years. You could say, had his breakout in 2025, although his pass rush grades would indicate it came in 2024. His pass rush grades went from 71 to 64 to 83 to 89. 2024, he had 44 pressures on 343 attempts with 8 sacks. 2025, it was 41 pressures on 292 attempts and 12 sacks. His run defense grades have largely hovered in the mid-60s. It was only lower in 2024, along with his coverage grade, which nobody cares about, which was lower, which is the reason why, if you look at the overall grade, it would appear that his breakout was 2025. But again, just looking at pass rush, it appears it was 2024. Listed at 6'3", 260, so we're back to kind of that more desired pass rusher weight. I'll even have the pronunciation here. Jackas. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Or is it Ackus? Don't pronounce the J? I don't know. Let me now I'm interested. It is a silent J. All right, fine. Well, that makes it easier. Gabe Ackus. 3-star recruit out of Fort Pierce Central High School in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Ackus was ranked number 1,254 nationally, number 75 among edge rushers in the 2022 class. His offer sheet reflected his obscurity, Georgia Southern, FIU, etc. He committed to Tulane during the summer before his senior year, seemingly headed for Group of 5 football. Then a tip changed everything. Jack Daniels, a local Florida coach with ties to Brett Bielema, flagged Ackus to the Illinois staff. The problem, the Illini had seen film on Ackus but thought he was 5'9", 5'10". High school tape can be deceiving with camera angles, COVID, blah, blah, blah. Bielema dispatched defensive backs coach Aaron Henry to Fort Pierce Central to get eyes on Ackus during a recruiting trip already scheduled for the area. Henry couldn't speak for Ackus per NCAA rules or speak to him, so the high school coach walked the Illinois assistant past a classroom to get a look. What Henry saw was a 6'3", 240-pound teenager who looked like a grown man. Quote, he was like a god walking into school. He literally fit the bill. I don't know how that's literal, but all right. I have yet to see a high school kid that physically mature at that age. What makes the recruiting story even more remarkable is what Ackus wasn't. He didn't play sports at all until his freshman year of high school. His older brother, Khalik, who went on to play football at FIU, convinced him to try wrestling in the offseason after football, and Ackus took to it immediately. By his junior and senior years, he had won back-to-back Florida 3A state titles in the 220-pound weight class. TC Palm named him the 2021-22 Male Athlete of the Year for the Treasure Coast region. Wrestling didn't just build his body, it built the foundation for everything that makes him an NFL prospect today. 4-year contributor, 3-year starter at Illinois, finished his collegiate career with a bunch of stats. His 27 career sacks rank second in Illinois program history behind only Simeon Rice at 44.5. Well, that's not even close. I mean, it's good, but geez. Who holds the all-time Big Ten record. As a true freshman, he earned FWAA Freshman All-American honors, the first Illinois true freshman to receive that distinction, along with freshman All-American nods from ESPN 24/7 Sports College Football News. His 13 quarterback hits the year tied for the national lead among freshmen per PFF. After a steady but unspectacular sophomore season, he exploded as a junior in 2024 with a bunch of stats that include 13 tackles for a loss, 8 sacks. Earned a third-team All-Big Ten and Phil Steele third-team All-American honors. He capped his junior year with a dominant Cheez-It Citrus Bowl performance against number 14 South Carolina, posting a career-high 3 tackles for loss, 8 tackles in the Illini victory. He returned his senior season despite being draft eligible, turning down significant NIL offers from SEC programs to stay loyal to Bielema and the Illini. The decision paid off. He got first-team All-Big Ten honors, Phil Steele fourth-team All-American recognition, a spot on the Bronco Nagurski Trophy watch list, opted out of the Music City Bowl against Tennessee to prepare for the draft, standout at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, where he weighed in at 6'3", 260 after playing most of his career between 270 and 275, and showed enhanced burst and pass rush versatility that pushed him into the top 50 conversation on multiple big boards. Ackus entered the Senior Bowl already projected as a top 60 prospect on PFF's big board, but his performance in Mobile may have bumped him into fringe first-round territory. Weighing in at 260 pounds, roughly 15 pounds lighter than he played at Illinois, he showed enhanced burst and change of direction ability without sacrificing the power that defines his game. He demonstrated versatility by winning reps from a wide 7 technique all the way down to a 4-eye alignment. PFF's Trevor Sikkema flagged Ackus as one of the 10 biggest risers out of the Senior Bowl, writing that he could climb into the top 50 and possibly fringe round 1 conversation. No significant injuries. He played in every game across 4 seasons at Illini, was never listed on the injury report, limited or held out. A couple different comps. Keon White, New England Patriots, pass rusher. Also Bryce Huff for the Philadelphia Eagles. But White was a 3-star recruit, originally played tight end at Old Dominion before transferring to Georgia Tech, converting to defensive end. Won primarily with power, had a wrestling and combat sports mentality, posted strong sack production in college. Entered the draft with questions about his run defense consistency and whether his pass rush was diverse enough for the NFL. So very, very similar. White, a little bit bigger, but similar profile. No red flag stuff. His off-field profile is exemplary. He's a man of faith who publicly credits Jesus Christ in the public statements and has been described universally as a hard worker. Loyal teammate and positive locker room presence. He turned down NIL money to stay at Illinois multiple times. His head coach has praised his work ethic in strongest possible terms, noting that Ackus would be in the facility working out on Saturday nights. He's never been in any legal trouble, blah, 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 blah. So there you go. Next up, Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver out of Alabama from Henderson, Nevada, Liberty High School. Accepted a Senior Bowl invite but withdrew due to injury. Projected to be around a 2nd to 3rd round prospect. Consensus 4-star recruit out of Liberty High School. Originally committed to Washington before his junior year of high school, but when head coach Jimmy Lake was fired, he flipped his commitment to Michigan State, signed with Mel Tucker's program. He spent 1 year in East Lansing before entering the transfer portal, ultimately landing at Washington, the school he'd originally committed to for the 2023 season. When Cale DeBoer left Washington for Alabama after the 2023 CFP National Championship game appearance, Bernard followed him to Tuscaloosa. 3 schools in 4 years, that journey shaped everything about who he is as a prospect. One high school moment deserves its own section. As a sophomore in 2019, Bernard helped Liberty upset number 1 Bishop Gorman in the Class 4A Desert Final, contributing 5 catches, 51 yards, and a touchdown. The victory ended Bishop Gorman's run of 10 consecutive state championships and a 115-game win streak against in-state opponents. Liberty had started the season 0-5 before reeling off 10 straight wins and capturing the state title. Bernard was right in the middle of one of the most improbable runs in Nevada high school football history. Jeremy is a physical, savvy, possession-style wide receiver who spent 4 college seasons in 3 programs. He amassed 155 receptions for 2,200 yards, 14.2 yards per catch, 13 touchdowns, along 36 rushing attempts for 184 yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. He led Alabama in receptions and receiving yards in both of his seasons at Tuscaloosa, establishing himself as the Crimson Tide's most reliable target. He is listed, by the way, if I didn't say it, at 6'1", 204. 2025 season represented a genuine breakthrough. His 64 catches ranked 6th in the SEC, 862 yards ranked 7th, and his 7 receiving scores ranked 5th. He was Ty Simpson's go-to target, finishing ahead of sophomore Ryan Williams in catches and yards, helped lead Alabama to 10-3 regular season record, a college football playoff berth as the number 9 seed, and a first-round victory over Oklahoma before the season ended with a 38-3 loss to Indiana in the Rose Bowl. So, to be clear, statistically, that was his best year. 862 yards is the most he's had. 7 touchdowns by far is the most he's had. PFF grade, though, is a little bit more iffy. At Michigan State, where he only had 7 receptions for 128 yards, he had a 63 grade, 2 touchdowns. Washington, 35 receptions, 430 yards, 2 touchdowns, 74 grade. 2024 was his highest receiving grade. He had 50 receptions first year at Alabama, 794 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, the touchdowns were terrible across the first 3 years. The next year is when he had, a little bit more. His yards per reception actually went down because he had 14 more receptions, but just about 70 more yards. But the 7 touchdowns are massive. It's 5 additional touchdowns. But his grade went from a 79 down to a 72. Another very important thing, his drop rate, 2.5%. He does not drop passes. He's dropped 4 passes in his entire career, never more than 2. He had 2 in 2024, 0 at Michigan State, 1 at Washington, and then 1 in 2025 at Alabama. 2.5% drop rate. 3.8 was his worst. That's crazy. 38.7% contested catch rate. Might speak a little bit to why, there's probably a correlation between that and your red zone ability. So he's just based on stats, doesn't appear to be a very, physical, go up and get it type of guy, I guess. At Alabama, apparently they called him Uncle Germ or Unk, testament to the mentor role he embraced in the wide receiver room. It's obviously a good thing to have for your locker room. Bernard is one of the most outwardly faith-driven players in the draft class, consistently opens post-game interviews by giving glory to Jesus Christ, wore different Bible verses on his eye black each week of the 2025 season, and has spoken openly about how his faith sustained him through multiple transfers and the uncertainty that comes with changing programs. He said, quote, "I just want people to know that God is a faithful God. If you are obedient to his word and what he wants you to do in your life, you're going to be blessed." After the Rose Bowl loss that ended his Alabama career, Bernard addressed the media by saying, "I just want to give glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing us to have the opportunity, even though it didn't go the way we wanted. Still a lot to be grateful for." Bernard had a unique career arc that he spent time learning behind future NFL draft picks at every school he attended. At Michigan State, he sat behind Jaden Reed and Keon Coleman. At Washington, he was a 4th-round option behind Roma Dunze, Jalen Polk, and Jalen McMillan. Only when he reached Alabama did Bernard get the opportunity to be the primary target, and he delivered immediately. He said, "I sat behind guys that are in the NFL, and they're balling. I learned a lot from them. That apprenticeship under elite talent followed by production when given the opportunity is a compelling development arc for NFL teams." So, former teammate of Jaden Reed. That's cool. He's also been projected to the Raiders in multiple mocks, and that is kind of his hometown team. He grew up in Henderson, Nevada, which is where the Raiders headquarters is located. So it'd be kind of a going home thing if he did end up there. Consensus day 2 pick, most outlets projecting him a 2nd to 3rd round range, so we're still kind of in that range. Kind of a late 2nd to early 3rd round pick. Injury history is relatively clean, but there's a couple things. He missed week 7 against Arizona State with an ankle injury. That same ankle injury reportedly limited him in the CFP championship game against Michigan, though he still played. That was in 2023. 2025, missed the week 13 game against Northern Illinois. With an undisclosed injury. Coach DeBoer described it as precautionary. Bernard returned to the Iron Bowl the following week without limitation. And then in January, withdrew from the Senior Bowl citing injury. Senior Bowl Executive Director Drew Fabianich confirmed the withdrawal was listed as injury-related, though he acknowledged uncertainty about the specifics. Everyone that's dropped out so far has been an injury. Now, do I know that this is true? I don't know. In other words, he's assuming it was injury-related. Maybe he just pulled. I don't know why you would, but we'll assume that that was an injury additionally. Pro comp, this one's kind of fun. Jarvis Landry. Comp that keeps resurfacing for good reason, like Landry. Bernard is a physical, tough, underneath-oriented receiver who wins with strength, competitive fire, and route-running savvy rather than elite speed or explosiveness, which is kind of, again, I haven't watched him, but you kind of get that vibe just looking at what he is and then reading about him a little bit. 6'1", 204 is not small, but he's definitely not big. He doesn't win with the 50-50 stuff, so he's not a big, strong Mike Evans type of guy. So what the heck is he? Well, if he's going to be anything, he's just going to be a good football player. You know what I mean? He's got to be sort of that Devontae Adams. You know, Adams was not a big physical guy. He's big enough, but he wasn't, again, he wasn't 240. He's not 6'5", 235 or something like Evans is. He ran in the 4.5s. Guys like him, guys like Keenan Allen, these are 6'1", 210-pound, 4.5 running receivers that just understand how to be good football players. And so if Bernard is going to be a good player, that's what he's going to be. Both players thrive working the short to intermediate zones, absorb contact fearlessly, and pile up receptions as chain-moving workhorses. Landry ran a 4.77 at the Combine, still became a 5-time Pro Bowler, proving that production and physicality can overcome athletic limitations. I miss Landry, dude. That guy was fun. He was a good player. Another comp being Robert Woods. A lot of the same reasons. Woods ran a 4.51. Became a very productive receiver for Sean McVay, just being a good route runner and a good offense. No off-the-field stuff for Jeremy Bernard. Which brings us to Derek Moore, edge rusher out of Michigan from Baltimore, Maryland, went to St. Francis Academy, one of the big powerhouse high schools that's out there for football. He ended up being a 4-star recruit across most of the services, originally committed to Oklahoma on the 4th of July, drawn to Alex Grinch's Speed D in the Sooners pipeline to DMV talent. But when Lincoln Riley bolted for USC in November, everything changed. Moore decommitted, reopened his recruitment, drawing heavy interest from Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, a bunch of other places. The Wolverines had a unique connection. Biff Poggi, Moore's former head coach at St. Francis, was on Jim Harbaugh's staff as associate head coach. Former Michigan linebacker and St. Francis grad, whatever his name is, called Moore to pitch Ann Arbor, and Poggi followed up an hour later. Derek Moore, 4 years at Michigan. I mean, you can just tell he's one of those guys that, year 2 was kind of the first year he started, and it was his immediate breakout, which is a great sign. He was good year 1. Played about 50% snaps, 224 total snaps. Had a 69 pass rush grade, 66 run defense grade, 68 tackling. There's nothing wrong with that. He had 14 pressures and 2 sacks on 125 attempts. That's adequate. 2023 year 2 has his first breakout, 81 PFF pass rushing grade, 26 pressures on 200 attempts and 5 sacks. Next year at Michigan, he goes from an 81 to an 87, has 37 pressures on 268 attempts, 3 sacks. And then his final year was by far his best year, 92 pass rush grade, had a 90 overall grade, 76 run defense, 76 tackling, 41 pressures and 11 sacks on 234 attempts. So 4 years at one school. It's a major school. He starts almost right away. He gets better every single year. He's good against the pass. He's good against the run. He's got the build of 6'3", 260. The guy just on its face kind of checks all the boxes. 2025, he was voted a team captain, exploded a career-high 10 sacks, again, 11 PFF sacks, tied for 3rd in the Big Ten, 12th nationally, 10.5 total sacks, tackles for a loss, which is team leading, 30 tackles, 3 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, fumble recovery, PFF's highest overall defensive grade on the team at 89.8, with a pass rush grade of 92.3. Named first team All-Big Ten by coaches and second team by media, earned the East-West Shrine Bowl Breakout Defensive Player of the Week honor, recognized as Michigan's Defensive Player of the Week 6 times throughout the season. His signature college moment came on the final play of the 2024 Rose Bowl semifinal against Alabama. 4th and goal from the 3-yard line with the game hanging in the balance. Alabama ran a quarterback draw with Jalen Milroe. Teammate Josiah Stewart bull rushed right tackle J.C. Latham so violently he tripped Milroe, and Moore met the stumbling quarterback with a collision so forceful that Fox Sports described it as helicoptering Milroe's body until it was facing the wrong direction. For 3 years, he played behind some of the most decorated defensive linemen in college football, like Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Josiah Stewart, and Chris Jenkins. All heard their names called in the NFL draft before Moore got his turn in the spotlight. The heavy rotation meant Moore never accumulated more snap counts or raw stats that generated early draft buzz. His 2025 breakout, doubling his career best sack total, coincided with being the last man standing from that championship caliber defensive front. He entered this 2026 Senior Bowl as a day 2, day 3 fringe prospect and left as one of the most talked about players of the week. His opening practice featured arguably the most eye-catching rep of the entire event, a devastating bull rush that pancaked Miami's 6'9", 340-pound offensive tackle Markel Bell flat on his back. The play went viral across NFL draft media. Daniel Jeremiah and his top 10 Senior Bowl standouts wrote that he can't blame any offensive lineman who avoided the task of trying to block Moore this week. PFF named him a day 3 practice standout. There was even a dust-up at the end of the rep with Arizona State tackle Max Ahenachor that required Michigan teammate Rayshon Benny to step in, evidence of the competitive fire Moore brings to every snap. There's also a potential homecoming here as well, as he's been mocked to the Baltimore Ravens numerous times. He did grow up in Baltimore, played his high school ball in Baltimore, and so that would be kind of a homecoming event for him. Basically nothing as far as his injury situation, no real red flags. Some comps, Boye Mafe for the Seattle Seahawks, or Deo Odenigbo, Indianapolis Colts. Mafe probably the most similar. 4-year player at Minnesota, broke out as a senior with 10 sacks after posting almost an identical production arc. Both are power-first edge rushers with good, not great bend, who rely on bull rush and speed to power. Mafe's 6'4", 261 at the combine. That's nearly identical. So probably a pretty good comp there. All right, let's take our final break. We've got 3 more in Malachi Fields, Chris Brazzell, and Omar Cooper. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, final 3 wide receivers, starting with Malachi Fields, wide receiver out of Notre Dame. This is a big old boy. Big old boy. 6'4", 218 pounds from Charlottesville, Virginia. Went to Monticello High School. He was actually the starting quarterback there, not a wide receiver. He was very lightly recruited. He was a 3-star recruit. His only offers came by way of Virginia Liberty, VMI, and William and Mary. He committed to UVA, to Virginia, in March of 2020 to stay close to home, was recruited to play wide receiver, a position he barely played in high school. His senior football season at Monticello was canceled due to COVID, meaning he arrived in Charlottesville without any game reps at his new position. First 2 years, he barely played. He was targeted 15 times in 2021, had 179 yards. His next year, he was targeted just 7 times, 58 yards and a touchdown. Didn't really get real reps as a starter until 2023. Started all 12 games in each of his final 3 seasons, compiling remarkable consistency. Honorable mention, All-ACC in 2023, semifinalist for the 2023 Comeback Player of the Year award following a return from foot surgery, and received third-team All-ACC honors in 2024, along with a spot in the Blitnikoff Award watch list. Voted one of the 5 team captains at Virginia in 2024 before transferring to Notre Dame his final season, choosing the Fighting Irish over entering the 2025 draft. At Notre Dame, he played boundary receiver in an offense that leaned heavily on running back Jeremiah Love, resulting in fewer targets but an increased yards per catch average at 16.4. He was invited to and participated in the 2026 Senior Bowl, where he was universally hailed as a top receiver of the week. If we look at PFF those final 3 years, Virginia 2023, 58 targets, 811 yards, 5 touchdowns, 72 receiving grade. Final year at Virginia, 56 targets, 808 yards, 5 touchdowns, nearly identical in every single way. 75 grade, also almost identical. Then goes to Notre Dame, just 36 targets, 630 yards, 17.5 per attempt, 5 touchdowns, again, 3rd year in a row, and a 76 receiving grade. So his yardage went from 811 to 808 to 630 Touchdowns 5, 5, and 5. Receiving grades 72, 75, 76. Pretty wildly consistent. One of the narratives surrounding him is that he's always kind of been overshadowed and maybe not seen his full potential. At Virginia, teammate Malik Washington broke program records with 110 catches, 1,426 yards that same year. Then at Notre Dame, the offense funneled everything through Jeremiah Love. So there's some talk that he never really got, like a lot of other guys, that opportunity to be that feature guy in an offense. At the Senior Bowl, Daniel Jeremiah called him clearly a cut above every player at the position. Jordan Reed called him the best offensive player on the American team after day one. His deep over-the-shoulder catch from Taylon Green became the play of the week, and his one-on-one tape was circulated widely. At the Senior Bowl, Fields told media that he models his game after former five-time All-Pro Julio Jones. The comparison is aspirational, but not entirely detached from reality. Both are 6'4" boundary receivers who win with physicality, body control, and catch point dominance rather than elite speed, although Julio was pretty fast. Fields won't run a 4.34 like Julio did at the Combine, but his play style and mentality are clearly patterned after one of the greatest. Prior to the Senior Bowl, many outlets had Fields as a day 3 pick. The NFL Mock's writer who originally gave him a first-round grade noted that most analysts have cooled to project him in the 5th round by season's end. Post-Senior Bowl, the landscape looks very different. Daniel Jeremiah mocked him number 26 to the Buffalo Bills in his latest mock draft. Todd McShay, Bleacher Report, have pushed him into the first-round conversation. Steelers Depot projects him as an early day 2 pick. Fantasy Pros still sees him as a day 3 pick with tight end conversion upside. Realistically, probably talking about round 2, maybe round 3, with a very outside chance of him slipping into the first round. Injury history: his sophomore year in 2022, he underwent surgery to repair a broken metatarsal in his left foot. Missed virtually the entire season, appearing in just one game versus Pittsburgh. 23 through 25, started all 36 games. Pro comp, couple interesting ones here. The one more familiar to Packer fans would be Allen Lazard. If the speed doesn't show up at the Combine, this becomes the more realistic outcome. Lazard was the undersized version of Fields' archetype coming out of Iowa State. Physical, blocking, willing receiver from a run-first offense who won with toughness and positioning rather than separation. The other being Mike Williams. Comparison's been made multiple times for multiple outlets. They're both 6'4" boundary receivers, win primarily through contested catch ability and physicality rather than separation or speed. Limited route trees in college, came from systems that didn't maximize their target volume. So, again, Mike Williams, if he struggles at the Combine, for any reason, you're looking more at an Allen Lazard type. No off-the-field character stuff. All right, moving on to Chris Brazzell II, wide receiver out of Tennessee. Spent 2 years at Tulane, 2 at Tennessee. He's another big dude, but mostly just tall. In fact, considering how tall, probably pretty lanky, 6'5", 200 pounds. From Midland, Texas, played for Midland Legacy High School. He was a consensus 3-star recruit. Had just 4 FBS scholarship offers coming out of Midland Legacy High School. Football bloodlines run deep. His father, Chris Brazzell Sr., was a 6th-round pick, 174 overall by the Jets in 98 out of Division II Angelo State. Elder Brazzell spent time on the Jets practice squad, played 2 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys in 99 to 2000, catching passes from Troy Aikman and earning his first NFL start in the playoff game, and then carved out 7-year career at the CFL in Edmonton. On his mother's side, Monique's side, the athletic pedigree gets even more interesting. Her uncle is an NBA Hall of Famer Calvin Murphy, 5'9" Houston Rockets legend. I don't know basketball, so I don't know who that is. Her father, Bobby Miller, played basketball at Niagara University in 1972 NIT runner-up squad. He is a basketball player also, so he's got football on one side, basketball on the other side. He played basketball and football, ended up obviously leaning toward football. Brazzell is a 6'5", 200-pound vertical weapon who led the SEC in receiving yards, 1,017, and yards per game, 84.8, while tying the conference lead in touchdown catches, 9, during his breakout 2025 season. Started off in Tulane under Willie Fritz in 2022, where a shoulder injury limited him to just 2 games and 1 catch before redshirting. His first season in Knoxville was a patient investment, playing behind established targets in 2024. Brazzell started 9 of 13 games and finished 3rd on the team in including a game-winning 16-yard diving touchdown grab. I'm trying, man. It's a lot of reading. In the corner of the end zone against 7th-ranked Alabama. Play foreshadowed what was coming in 2025 with the receiver room largely turned over. Brazzell became the alpha. He was the only receiver in the SEC to surpass 1,000 yards and rank 13th. That seems impossible. We'll table that one. His explosive play production was elite. 14 catches of 20-plus yards, which is second in the SEC. 9 catches of 30-plus yards, which is second. 6 catches of 40-plus yards, which is second. 4 catches of 50-plus yards, which was number 1. He was a Blitnikoff Award semifinalist and Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award semifinalist, earned first-team All-SEC honors from both the AP and coaches, and was named the AP All-American third-team selection. For his career across both schools, he totaled 136 catches, 2,072 yards, 15.2 yards per catch, 16 touchdowns, 6 100-yard games, and 40 games with 28 starts. Tennessee's third 1,000-yard receiver of the Josh Heupel era, joining Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt. If we just poke around at PFF for a little bit here, year 2 at Tulane was his breakout. Obviously, that's how he got to transfer. Year 1, he just had 1 reception for 11 yards. The next year, 44 receptions, 711 yards, 5 touchdowns, 77 receiving grade. Goes to Tennessee. Battles injury, as was mentioned. 29 receptions, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, 56 grade. It obviously was a disaster. Tennessee 2025 becomes the quote-unquote alpha. 61 receptions, 71% reception rate, over 1,000 yards, 16.5 yards per reception, 9 touchdowns, 81 receiving grade. He had 2.57 yards per route run and had a 3.2% drop rate. On his career, it's a 2.09 yards per route run and an 8.2% drop rate, 41% contested catch rate. Injury history is relatively brief, but not entirely clean. Tulane 2022 cut short by a shoulder injury that limited him to just 2 games, led to a redshirt year. 2025, he dealt with a leg injury that sidelined him for several weeks, but it did not cause him to miss any regular games. So outside of the shoulder injury, it's been pretty clean. Pro comp, that's pretty promising. Nico Collins for the Houston Texans. This is the comp that Tennessee's own coaching staff used when studying film of Brazzell during the offseason, and it makes a lot of sense. Collins, 6'4", 215, outside receiver, drafted in the 3rd round out of Michigan, needed 2 years of NFL seasoning before breaking out as a 1,300-yard, 80-catch weapon in 2023. Another comp, Martavis Bryant, 6'4", 211-pound vertical threat out of Clemson, went 4th round to the Steelers in 2014, immediately showed the ability to change games with downfield speed and body control. As for red flags, his off-field profile has a couple of minor blemishes. According to Steelers Depot research, he failed to appear in court on August 15, 2024, stemming from a charge of failure to carry insurance on his vehicle. I mean, give me a freaking break. One additional source referenced a possible August 2025 citation for speeding and suspended license, with charges reportedly dismissed. Neither incident raises to the level of serious character concern. You could say that again. Minor traffic infractions, I guess. But on the other side, he earned a bachelor's degree in sociology, December 2025, 2-team SEC academic honor roll selection, volunteers with his family at Second Harvest Food Bank in East Tennessee. His mother describes him as a yes sir, yes ma'am type of kid, very respectful. Head coach Josh Heupel called him a gamer with rare traits. Wide receiver coach Kelsey Pope praised his daily competitiveness, the way his intensity elevates the entire receiver room. So no team discipline stuff. I think a couple of freaking traffic tickets is something we can just rip up and throw in the garbage as useless information. All right, final prospect, Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. He is listed at 6 foot 204 pounds. He is a slot receiver. 3 years at Indiana, just, it's one of those things where you start right away, you get better every year, you barely were in school. It screams superstar. Right? You didn't need to be there forever, not a bunch of injuries, not a bunch of down years. It was, I came, I showed up, I dominated. My first chance to get out, I got out because I'm just that good. First year at Indiana, he had a 68 grade, right? Modest. Didn't play a ton, 18 receptions, 267 yards. Next year, jumps up to an 80 grade, 600 yards, 7 touchdowns. Then, nearly 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 86 grade. So the yardage doubled about every year. The touchdowns more than doubled the first year to second year, and then doubled the second to third year. And the grade went from 68 to 78 to 86. He just came in, ran the gamut, and got out. He is from Indianapolis, Indiana, went to Lawrence North Senior High School, 4-star recruit out of Lawrence North High School in Indianapolis, rated number 155 overall, number 22 wide receiver, number 6 player in Indiana by Rivals. Committed to Tom Allen's Indiana program July 7th, 2021, choosing to stay home despite options elsewhere. Athleticism runs deep. Cooper's mother, Vanamina, was a basketball star at Fort Wayne South High School, won the Tiffany Gooden Award at the Summit Athletic Conference Best Player in 1998 before earning Indiana All-Star honors and playing at Michigan State, where she scored more than 750 points. His father, Omar Cooper Sr., was a dual sports standout at the same school, winning 3 sectional championships and a regional title in basketball before playing at Louisiana Tech. His older sister, Lamina, played women's basketball at Purdue. Omar Sr. joked that his goal in marrying Namina was to raise Division I children. Mission accomplished, 3 for 3. He did redshirt in 2022, so he's got 4 years in college. 2025, he became the go-to receiver in a historic season, 69 receptions, 937 yards, 13 touchdowns, 13 scores, tying for third in Indiana's single-season record book. He earned second-team All-American honors from Football Writers Association of America, second-team All-Big Ten recognition, both the media and coaches panel. Was named Blitnikoff Award semifinalist. He and teammate Elijah Surratt became just the 5th set of Big Ten teammates this century to both finish the regular season with double-digit receiving touchdowns. If you want one play of college football 2025 to sort of watch to get a feel for them, probably the November 8th, 2025 game, Indiana's trailing 24-20 at Penn State, 36 seconds remaining. Fernando Mendoza found Cooper in the back of the end zone on a 7-yard throw. Cooper leaped, extended, and swept his inside foot within the field of play for a toe-tap touchdown that preserved Indiana's undefeated season and secured the program's first ever win at Beaver Stadium. Some of his strengths, you got elite after-the-catch physicality, reliable hands, contested catch ability, route running patience and deception, competitive toughness, willingness to block, big game production. Some weaknesses: lack of top-end speed, limited catch radius, undeveloped route tree, and some size limitations. Consensus draft range sits firmly in the day 2 conversation, most projections landing him in the second or third rounds, although I think he's skyrocketing fast enough that he is a locked second round, and if he continues going up at this rate, he will be in the first round conversation. Right now, he's kind of sitting in the mid-second round. Injury history is relatively clean, not entirely blank. Suffered a knee injury during his junior basketball season of high school, fully recovered. In college, he left Indiana's November 4th, 2025 game against Wisconsin in the second quarter due to an undisclosed injury. Most notably, he sustained an apparent right leg injury early in the first quarter of the Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, December 6, 2025, did not return to the contest. As for comps, again, there's Jaden Reed, but I think the better comp, because it's a slightly more athletic comp for Jaden Reed, is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Multiple evaluators have landed on that. Like St. Brown, Cooper is compact, dense slot receiver who wins with route running polish, yak ability, toughness, and football IQ rather than elite speed. St. Brown was a 4th-round pick out of USC who became a perennial Pro Bowler because of his relentless after-the-catch ability. Cooper profiles similarly. No red flags, spotless, Christian faith essential to his identity, first in his family to earn a college degree, on and on and on. So there you have it, folks. That is your top 100. I'll find any profiles that are not quite filled out yet, and I'll make sure that those get done. Again, if you're interested in subscribing to this draft guide that I will be adding to every single day, the link will be in the description. Otherwise, you all have a good rest of your day. I will talk to you tonight, tomorrow, whatever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.